Welcome back, dear friends. This is part 10 of exploring the advent of divine justice. And without any further ado, we'll have our opening prayer. Thank you.
Glory be to thee, O Lord my God. Make manifest the rivers of thy sovereign might, that the waters of thy unity may flow through the inmost realities of all things, in such wise that the banner of thine unfailing guidance may be raised aloft in the kingdom of thy command, and the stars of thy divine splendor may shine brightly in the heaven of thy majesty. Potent art thou to do what pleaseth thee. Thou verily art the help in peril, the self-subsisting. Baha'u'llah.
Thank you very much, Ms. Darla. Now we are going to jump straight into it because there's some long paragraphs and we're going to have a lot of discussion tonight. So I'm not going to even have a refresher on our past sessions. But as you all recall from our last meetings, the beloved guardian in his last sessions has been really laying out the problems. Corruption, laxity of moral character, ingrained prejudices. And he has laid out how it has been tied from revelation to revelation, these problems in part 9. So this has been a continuous process of problems from time period to time period. And now, as we enter into part 10, covering paragraphs 34 through 41, now the beloved guardian is now addressing his first, per se, weapon, his first solution to these major problems that he has laid out. Okay, so let us full screen it so everyone can see what I am seeing. There we go. And I will move everyone to my top corner. There we go. Okay, so paragraphs 34 through 41. The beloved guardian is going to get into the spiritual prerequisites, as well as the implications of a rectitude of conduct. We've heard this term before many times, I'm sure, growing up as a Baha'i. Rectitude of conduct, rectitude of conduct. But in the advent of divine justice, the beloved guardian outlines 7 qualities that define what this rectitude of conduct implies. And we're going to go, in this part 10, we're going to go through what are these qualities that should manifest our life of a rectitude of conduct. Okay, very exciting. So let us go into an introduction. So do we have a reader? Let's have a reader. Anyone just go on and read our first introduction.
The beloved guardian counsels the North American Baha'i community to cleanse their lives of the shortcomings and erroneous inclinations that reflect the fault embedded within their society, while cultivating the qualities crucial for success in their Baha'i endeavors. Shoghi Effendi then identifies the spiritual prerequisites that are the foundation and bedrock of their undertakings and instrumental in attracting the divine blessings, categorizing them as rectitude of conduct, absolute chastity, and complete freedom of prejudice. In paragraphs 36 to 41, Shoghi Effendi focuses on rectitude of conduct.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Satibay. So, in these paragraphs that we're going to read, the beloved guardian focuses on these weapons: rectitude of conduct, absolute chastity, and complete freedom of prejudice. But the majority of these paragraphs, he's focusing on his first weapon, rectitude of conduct. And this is what we're going to be getting into today, okay? And yeah, I have more to say as we get through this. So let's now get into the readings. So our first paragraph, paragraph 34. Let us have a reader. How about you, Mr. David? Let us hear your voice this evening. Go for it.
How great, therefore, how staggering the responsibility that must weigh upon the present generation of the American believers. At this early stage in their spiritual and administrative evolution, to weed out by every means in their power those faults, habits, and tendencies which they have inherited from their own nation, and to cultivate patiently and prayerfully those distinctive qualities and characteristics that are so indispensable to their effective participation in the great redemptive work of their faith. Incapable as yet, in view of the restrictive size of their community and the limited influence it now wields, of producing any marked effect on the great mass of their countrymen, let them focus their attention for the present on their own selves, their own individual needs, their own personal deficiencies and weaknesses, ever mindful that every intensification of effort on their part will better equip them for the time when they will be called upon to eradicate in their turn such evil tendencies from the lives and the hearts of the entire body of their fellow citizens. Nor must they overlook the fact that the world order, whose basis they, as the advanced guard of the future Baha'i generations of their countrymen, are now laboring to establish, can never be reared unless and until the generality of the people to which they belong has been already purged from the diverse ills, whether social or political, that now so severely afflict it.
Excellent reading. Thank you so much. Okay. Bruce, you're reading paragraph 35, is that right?
38.
Oh, 38. Thank you so much. Okay. Pat, would you like to read this one?
And to unmute and turn. Surveying as a whole the most pressing needs of this community, attempting to estimate the more serious deficiencies by which it is being handicapped in the discharge of its task, and ever bearing in mind the nature of that still greater task with which it will be forced to wrestle in the future, I feel it my duty to lay special stress upon and draw the special and urgent attention of the entire body of the American believers, be they young or old, white or colored, teachers or administrators, veterans or newcomers, to what I firmly believe are the essential requirements for the success of the tasks which are now claiming their undivided attention. Great as is the importance of fashioning the outward instruments and of perfecting the administrative agencies which they can utilize for the prosecution of their dual task under the 7-year plan, vital and urgent as are the campaigns which they are initiating, the schemes and projects which they are devising, and the funds which they are raising for the efficient conduct of both the teaching and temple work, the imponderable, the spiritual factors which are bound up with their own individual and inner lives, and with which are associated their human and social relationships, are no less urgent and vital, and demand constant scrutiny, continual self-examination, and heart-searching on their part, lest their value be impaired or their vital necessity be obscured or forgotten.
Excellent read. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you. Miss Gabrielle McGuire, go for it. you're muted.
Of these spiritual prerequisites of success, which constitute the bedrock on which the security of all teaching plans, temple projects, and financial schemes must ultimately rest, the followers stand out as preeminent and vital, which the members of the American Baha'i community will do well to ponder. Upon the extent to which these basic requirements are met, and the manner in which the American believers fulfill them in their individual lives, administrative activities, and social relationships must depend the measure of the manifold blessings which the all-bountiful possessor can vouchsafe to them all. These requirements are none other than the high sense of moral rectitude in their social and administrative activities, absolute chastity in their individual lives, and complete freedom from prejudice in their dealings with people of a different race, class, creed, or colour.
Excellent. Thank you. Miss Darla, you're up. Go for it.
Okay. The first is specially, though not exclusively, directed to their elected representatives, whether local, regional, or national, who in their capacity as the custodians and members of the nascent institutions of the faith of Baha'u'llah are shouldering the chief responsibility in laying an unassailable foundation for that universal house of justice which, as its title implies, is to be the exponent and guardian of that divine justice which can alone ensure the security of and establish the reign of law and order in a strangely disordered world. The second is mainly and directly concerned with the Baha'i youth, who can contribute so decisively to the virility, the purity, and the driving force of the life of the Baha'i community, and upon whom must depend the future orientation of its destiny and the complete unfoldment of the potentialities with which God has endowed it. The third should be immediate, the universal the universal and chief concern of all and sundry members of the Baha'i community, of whatever age, rank, experience, class, or color, as all, with no exception, must face its challenging implications, and none can claim, however much he may have progressed along this line, to have completely discharged the stern responsibilities which it inculcates.
Excellent. Very well read, Miss Darla. Thank you. All right. Go for it.
A rectitude of conduct, an abiding sense of undeviating justice, unobscured by the demoralizing influences which a corruption-ridden political life so strikingly manifests, a chaste, pure, and holy life unsullied and unclouded by the indecencies, the vice, the false standards, which are inherently deficient moral code tolerates, perpetuates, and fosters, a fraternity freed from the cancerous growth of racial prejudice, which is eating into the vitals of an already debilitated society. These are the ideas which the American believers must, from now on, individually and through concerted action, strive to promote in both their private and public lives. Ideals which are the chief propelling forces that can most effectively accelerate the march of their institutions, plans, and enterprises, that can guard the honor and integrity of their faith, and subdue any obstacles that may confront it in the future.
Excellent, Bruce. Thank you so much. All right, I'll read paragraph 39. This rectitude of conduct, with its implications of justice, equity, truthfulness, honesty, fair-mindedness, reliability, and trustworthiness, must distinguish every phase of the life of the Baha'i community. The companions of God, Baha'u'llah himself has declared, are in this day the lump that must leaven the peoples of the world. They must show forth such trustworthiness, such truthfulness and perseverance, such deeds and character that all mankind may profit by their example. I swear by him who is the most great ocean, he again affirms, within the very breath of such souls as are pure and sanctified, far-reaching potentialities are hidden. So great are these potentialities that they exercise their influence upon all created things. He is the true servant of God, he in another passage has written, who in this day, were he to pass through cities of silver and gold, would not deign to look upon them, and whose heart would remain pure and undefiled from whatever things can be seen in this world, be they its goods or its treasures. I swear by the Son of Truth, the breath of such a man is endowed with potency, and his words with attraction, by him who shineth above the dayspring of sanctity. He still more emphatically has revealed, if the whole earth were to be converted into silver and gold, no man who can be said to have truly ascended into the heaven of faith and certitude would deign to regard it, much less to seize and keep it. They who dwell within the tabernacle of God and are established upon the seats of everlasting glory will refuse, though they be dying of hunger, to stretch their hands and seize unlawfully the property of their neighbor, however vile and worthless he may be. The purpose of the one true God in manifesting himself is to summon all mankind to truthfulness and sincerity, to piety and trustworthiness, to resignation and submissiveness to the will of God, to forbearance and kindliness, to uprightness and wisdom. His object is to array every man with the mantle of a saintly character, and to adorn him with the ornament of holy and goodly deeds. We have admonished all the loved ones of God, he insists, to take heed lest the hem of our sacred vesture be smirched with the mire of unlawful deeds, or be stained with the dust of reprehensible conduct. Cleave unto righteousness, O people of Baha, he thus exhorts them. This verily is the commandment which this wronged one hath given unto you, and the first choice of his unrestrained will for every one of you. A good character, he explains, is verily the best mantle for men from God. With it he adorneth the temples of his loved ones. By my life, the light of a good character surpasseth the light of the sun and the radiance thereof. One righteous act, he again has written, is endowed with a potency that can so elevate the dust as to cause it to pass beyond the heaven of heavens. It can tear every bond asunder, and hath the power to restore the force that hath spent itself and vanished. Be pure, O people of God, be pure. Be righteous, be righteous. Say, O people of God, that which can ensure the victory of him who is the eternal truth, his hosts and helpers on earth, have been set down in the sacred books and scriptures, and are as clear and manifest as the sun. These hosts are such righteous deeds, such conduct and character as are acceptable in his sight. Whoso ariseth in this day to aid our cause, and summoneth to his assistance the hosts of a praiseworthy character and upright conduct, the influence from such an action will most certainly be diffused throughout the whole world. The betterment of the world is yet another statement, can be accomplished through pure and goodly deeds, through commendable and seemly conduct. Be fair to yourselves and to others, he thus counseleth them, that the evidences of justice may be revealed through your deeds among our faithful servants. Equity, he also has written, is the most fundamental among human virtues. The evaluation of all things must needs depend upon it. And again, observe equity in your judgment, ye men of understanding heart. He that is unjust in his judgment is destitute of the characteristics that distinguish man's station. Beautify your tongues, O people. He further admonishes them, with truthfulness, and adorn your souls with the ornament of honesty. Beware, O people, that ye deal not treacherously with anyone. Be ye the trustees of God amongst his creatures, and the emblems of his generosity amidst his people. Let your eye be chaste, is yet another counsel. Your hand faithful, your tongue truthful, and your heart enlightened. Be an ornament to the countenance of truth, is yet another admonition. A crown to the brow of fidelity, a pillar of the temple of righteousness, a breath of life to the body of mankind, an ensign of the hosts of justice, a luminary above the horizon of virtue. Let truthfulness and courtesy be your adorning, is still another admonition. Suffer not yourselves to be deprived of the robe of forbearance and justice, that the sweet savors of holiness may be wafted from your hearts upon all created things. Say, beware, O people of Baha, lest ye walk in the ways of them whose words differ from their deeds. Strive that ye may be enabled to manifest to the peoples of the earth the signs of God, and to mirror forth his commandments. Let your acts be a guide unto all mankind. For the professions of most men, be they high or low, differ from their conduct. It is through your deeds that ye can distinguish yourselves from others. Through them, the brightness of your light can be shed upon the whole earth. Happy is the man that heedeth my counsel, and keepeth the precepts prescribed by him who is the all-knowing, the all-wise. Paragraph 40. We're going to go through all of these in more detail, obviously. Let's go to paragraph 40. Let us hear from Miss Donna Hunter. You're up. Go for it.
O army of God, writes Abdu'l-Baha, through the protection and help vouchsafed by the Blessed Beauty, may my life be a sacrifice to his loved ones. Ye must conduct yourselves in such a manner that ye may stand out distinguished and brilliant as the sun among other souls. Should any one of you enter a city, he should become a center of attraction by reason of his sincerity, his faithfulness and love, his honesty and fidelity, his truthfulness and loving kindness towards all the peoples of the world, so that the people of that city may cry out and say, this man is unquestionably a Baha'i, for his manners, his behavior, his conduct, his morals, his nature and disposition reflect the attributes of the Baha'is, Not until ye attain this station can ye be said to have been faithful to the covenant and testament of God, the most vital duty in this day. He, moreover, has written is to purify your characters, to correct your manners, and improve your conduct. The beloved of the merciful must show forth such character and conduct among his creatures that the fragrance of their holiness may be shed upon the whole world and may quicken the dead, inasmuch as the purpose of the manifestation of God and the dawning of the limitless lights of the invisible is to educate the souls of men and refine the character of every living man. Truthfulness, he asserts, is the foundation of all human virtues. Without truthfulness, progress and success in all the worlds of God are impossible for any soul. When this holy attribute is established in man, all the divine qualities will also be acquired.
Perfectly read. Thank you very much, Ms. Donna. And I believe this is our closer. Let's hear from Zamruhi Jan. You're up. Go for it.
Such a rectitude of conduct must manifest itself with ever-increasing potency in every verdict which the elected representatives of the Baha'i community, in whatever capacity they may find themselves, may be called upon to pronounce. It must be constantly reflected in the business dealings of all its members, in their domestic lives, in all manner of employment, and in any service they may, in the future, render their government or people. It must be exemplified in the conduct of all Baha'i electors when exercising their sacred rights and functions. It must characterize the attitude of every loyal believer towards non-acceptance of political posts, non-identification with political parties, non-participation in political controversies, and non-membership in political organization and celestial institutions. It must reveal itself in the uncompromising adherence of all, whether young or old, to the clearly enunciated and fundamental principles laid down by Abdul Baha in his addresses, and to the laws and ordinances revealed by Baha'u'llah in his most holy book. It must be demonstrated in the impartiality of every defender of the faith against its enemies, in his fair-mindedness in recognizing any merits that enemy may possess, and in his honesty in discharging any obligations he may have towards him. It must constitute the brightest ornament of the life, the pursuits, the exertions, and the utterances of every Baha'i teacher, whether laboring at home or abroad, whether in the front ranks of the teaching force or occupying a less active and responsible position. It must be made the hallmark of that numerically small, yet intensely dynamic and highly responsible body of the elected national representatives of every Baha'i community, which constitutes the sustaining pillar and the sole instrument for the election in every community of that universal house, whose very name and title, as ordained by Baha'u'llah, symbolizes that rectitude of conduct, which is its highest mission to safeguard and enforce.
As always, very beautiful. Thank you. Very well read. Thank you. Okay. So before we jump into the key points, as we always do, let us just recap over some of these paragraphs. These were quite intense set of paragraphs, paragraphs 34 through 41. Now, the beloved guardian here is, this is probably, again, in my top 5 favorite paragraphs. paragraph 34, and it's the language the beloved guardian is laying out, is weeding out. And this is the terminology the beloved guardian is using. He says we have to weed out by every means in our power, those faults, habits, and tendencies which we have inherited from our own nation, and to cultivate patiently and prayerfully, those distinctive qualities that are so indispensable and effective participation in the great redemptive work of our faith. So we have to weed out those faults, habits, and tendencies. And what are those faults, habits, and tendencies? We talked about them, right? Corruption, ingrained prejudice, laxity of moral character, irreligion, materialism. We've talked about all of these faults, habits, and tendencies in past parts. But we have to weed them out, and all of these qualities. And I sent you some thoughts that I had earlier on corruption. And we don't often talk about what is corruption. But I was reflecting on corruption, and it is any quality or per se that is taking us off course of that level of being a purity, having that purity. And so it is, if we ever backbite, if we lie, if we cheat, if we do anything that is per se not right, it is a form of corruption, of being that pure vehicle or that vessel for service of the faith. So that is a corruption. And so here the beloved guardian is saying at this stage that we have to weed these forces out, these evil tendencies in paragraph 34. And then in paragraph 35, he lays out, he's saying, now I'm serving the whole pressing needs of the community. And what does he say? There's been the serious deficiencies, and now he has to draw special and urgent attention of the entire body of the American believers. And I love this language that he says, be they young or old, white or colored, teachers or administrators, veterans or newcomers. He's saying everybody. He's saying every single person, young, old, does not matter. This is what we have to focus on. And I'm laying this out right now for my whole class, and I'm laying this out for every single class that I teach out for the future. He's laying this out for the entire formative age. This is the focus, dear friends. This is the focus. And what is the focus? The focus comes up. He's saying this is what we have to focus on. And what is the importance of this, laying it out? It is for the success of all teaching endeavors. And he says, great as the importance in fashioning the outward instruments of a perfecting administrative agencies. That's so important. But what is the purpose of this? Is the success of all teaching endeavors. So this is the entire focus, why we have to focus on these endeavors. So then he lays it out, and this is in paragraph 36. He says here, this is why we have to do it. So these are prerequisites of success, which constitute the bedrock on which the security of all teaching plans. Dear friends, as we know, teaching should be the dominating passion of our lives. We know teaching is the most meritorious of all deeds. And we know teaching is the hallmark of this dispensation. So we have to teach all throughout the entire formative age, till we reach even the golden age. And even within the golden age, there will still be teaching. And even when we pass, we know that there will be souls that we have to teach. So teaching will be a dominant phase of our lives forever. But what does he say is the prerequisite for the success of teaching? And now he's laying this out. What is the prerequisites of success for teaching? What is the prerequisites of temple projects? And we know we're building houses of worship everywhere. So what does it mean? How can we have success of a temple project? And what is it? Financial schemes you know, we have to have money is the lifeblood of the cause. So if we want to have fundraisers, what is the success for having financial schemes? And then he lays out these three things. And this is at the last line at the bottom. He says, these requirements are none other than what? A high sense of moral rectitude in their social and administrative activities. So this is paragraph 36. Boom, he's laying them out. He says, high sense of moral rectitude in their social and administrative activities. Number two, absolute chastity in their individual lives. Number three, complete freedom from prejudice in their dealings with peoples of a different race, class, creed, or color. So it's not just per se racial prejudice. It covers everything, race, class, creed, race. But it's primarily, as always, racial prejudice in this country of North America. So this is the three that the beloved guardian says are the weapons to take on those problems that we addressed in the earlier part, namely the laxity of moral character, the ingrained prejudice, and corruption. So he's laying these out to take on. These are the spiritual prerequisites of success in all teaching plans. That's so important. All teaching plans, temple projects, and financial schemes. So then in paragraph 37, then what does he do? He starts laying it out. What is the first one? The rectitude of conduct. And so he starts exploring. Now in paragraph 37, he says, what is each one for? He says the first one, he says the first is especially not though exclusively directed to elected representatives. This is talking a rectitude of conduct. This is kind of focused on the elected representatives, but not specifically. But all Baha'is should work on their rectitude of conduct. Then the next one, chaste and holy life, it's primarily concerned with the Baha'i youth. And then, dear friends, the last one, which we're going to get into quite a lot in parts 14, 15, 16, but this one, the third, and you can see it's right at the bottom, paragraph 37. It says the third should be what? Can someone shout this word out? The what? The immediate, the universal, and what? I can't read this word. The chief what? The chief concern of all and sundry members. Yes, can you see this, my dear friends? The third should be the immediate, the universal, and the chief concern of all. So this is the racial prejudices, that this is the most vital and challenging issue. So it's immediate, universal, and chief concern of all. So that one, the beloved guardian goes in paragraphs 51 through 62, real into great detail. We're not there yet, but right now we're covering paragraphs 34 through 41. So now in paragraph 38, he really starts going into this rectitude of conduct, this abiding sense of undeviating justice. This is now in paragraph 28, the first mention of this new race of men. And in paragraph 41, it's mentioned again, a new race of men. So this terminology of this recreation, this of this new standard of what it means to be a follower of the light in that sense, in this dispensation, is the standard that Baha'u'llah, Abdul Baha, and here the beloved guardian in great detail is laying out. And he lays out 7 qualities, and we're going to be exploring this as we go on. And one of them is this honesty, trustworthiness. Another one is this level of justice. And it says, cleave unto righteousness. And we're going to be exploring all these terms in greater detail. And this was 19 times, 19 quotes from Baha'u'llah and Abdul Baha, totaling 19 times. He was pulling one after another in paragraph 39 to really stamp on our brows. What does it mean to be a Baha'i? What does it mean to have this standard of rectitude of conduct. Okay, so that was my pretty short recap. So let us now go into the major key points. Let us have some readers for these. Mr. Keith Kuntz, you're up.
Major key points from paragraph 34 through 41. The American believers should weed out the faults, habits, and tendencies that they have inherited from their nation. The New World Order cannot be reared unless and until the generality of people in America are purified from the social and political evils currently inflicting them. The beloved guardian identifies rectitude of conduct as one of the first spiritual prerequisites. The implications of rectitude of conduct are justice, equity, truthfulness, honesty, fair-mindedness, reliability, and trustworthiness.
Excellent. Thank you, Keith. So there you are. So that was paragraph 34, weeding out the faults, habits, and tendencies. That is just by far a top 5 favorite paragraph, the language right there for me. And then these are the 7 qualities. If someone ever says, what does rectitude of conduct mean? You know, that's not a very common question people are asked, but that is a question that, you know, you should be thinking to yourselves. What does rectitude of conduct mean? What does Shoghi Effendi define it as? And these are the qualities as justice, equity, truthfulness, honesty, fair-mindedness, reliability, and trustworthiness. And we're going to be exploring these definitions and also the quotes from the writings as to how do the writings define these qualities. So that will be forthcoming. Excellent. So let us go to another reader. Let's hear from Miss Yuda Miller. You're up. Go for it.
Major key points from paragraph 34 to 41. Equity has a broad meaning and refers to a range of value. I cannot read that next word.
Sorry. Values such as fairness, justice, and impartiality.
Truthfulness is a virtue that ensures our thoughts, words, and actions reflect the truth. Honesty is a quality that governs the attitudes, words, and deeds of an individual, ensures that they are truthful and sincere, morally correct or virtuous, and free from deceit. Fair-mindedness is a virtue that governs the attitude, words, and deeds of an individual.
Excellent, thank you. So here are some definitions, and these are for my dear friend Don, as here often helps us define things. And so these are the qualities that are being defined. Okay, let us carry on. And we'll select a reader. Miss Mary McGregor, you're up.
As a virtue, reliability is a character trait and indicates that an individual is dependable, trustworthy, honest, and responsible. Trustworthiness is a virtue indicating that an individual can be relied on as being honest, truthful, and reliable. Shoghi Effendi describes the specific aspects of the life of a Baha'i, where rectitude of conduct and its associated virtues must be applied.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Saide has a hand. Please, you're up.
As a virtue, reliability is a character trait and indicates that an individual is dependable, trustworthy, honest, and responsible.
Sorry, Saidi John. Saidi John, you had your hand raised. We just read this one. Did you have a comment or a question?
No. I'm sorry. Yeah, I thought we read this. Oh, no.
No.
I was going to read next one.
Okay,
That's why
excellent.
I raised my hand.
Okay, excellent. I appreciate it, as always. Thank you so much. Well, you can read the next one. Thank you. Okay, go for it, Saidi Jan. This is our next slide. Go for it, please.
The beloved guardian starts his analysis of the spiritual prerequisites from paragraph 34. In this paragraph, he points out that the American believers should weed out the false habits and tendencies that they have inherited from their nation. They must cultivate in themselves the qualities and tools needed for their effective engagement in eradicating the evils of their society.
Perfectly. Thank you, Saidi Jan. Very well read. Okay, so yes, there we are. And I see, there's a book called Gardeners of God. And this is, whenever I think of this quote in paragraph 34 of what we're supposed to be doing, of weeding out these faults, habits, and tendencies, I think of that we should be tilling our own fields, our own, because God knows we are so far from being perfect. We are constantly failing. And, you know, that's why there's so many prayers for forgiveness. So many prayers of forgiveness. And if you look at the prayers of thankfulness, and there's quite a bunch of, oh God, forgive me, because God knows we keep falling short. So, but we also have to reflect on how to become better, not just constantly say, yeah, I was pretty bad, we should actually try to get better. So he's laid out how to become better in these paragraphs, okay? So anyone have hands? I see two participants have raised their hands. So whoever wants to say a comment at this time, please go ahead.
Starting on paragraph or slide 18, when it goes into the definitions of this rectitude of conduct, our today's society, it struck me that sometimes we don't actually know what the meanings of some of these things are in our own worlds around us, because we have an outside world to grasp these meanings from, or like Google or the encyclopedias or dictionaries, but to actually inculcate, to take these things into our lives, to understand them. I just couldn't help but have the thought come up that what does this actually look like? What does it look like to see this honesty and this truthfulness, this whole aspect of rectitude of conduct? And I'm done. Thank you.
Excellent point. Yes, because we look often to society definitions, and so what does that mean? What do these words mean? So that's why I pulled all the references from the writings for the definitions as to what does these 7 prerequisites are defined in the sense of rectitude of conduct.
Can I say something?
Yes, John, go for it. You have the floor.
Yeah. We live in a society where we always think we know everything ourselves. We are better at everything. So doing that, we become judgmental and fault-finding. So these are the two things we have to control, to be not to be judgmental and not to be fault-finding. Because as you said, we have a long way to go before we have weeded out all these faults and habits and tendencies in ourselves. Thank you.
Great point. Thank you, as always, Major. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Oh, another person raised their hand. Go ahead. Go ahead. Who's up?
This is Hoda.
Hoda Jan, please.
This particular sentence is very, very helpful to me in my work as a Baha'i, to be a cycle breaker, to break the cycle of intergenerational having developed over 400 years in the United States, and as an immigrant who's come to this country, to continue with the false habits and tendencies that people specifically of European descent have inherited from their ancestors way back. As we know, the European Americans, the whites, let's use the language the Guardian used, they systematically, not for years, not for decades, not for centuries, but several centuries, had that mindset that allowed these qualities of estrangement, of apathy, of not caring, whatever was affecting millions of people of African descent that were enslaved, to actually participate in putting them on ships, grabbing them from their homes, putting them on the slave ships, allowing mothers that had pregnant, they would jump off the ship because they did not want to have the horrors of being enslaved and being treated like an animal. And then people would just watch this and not intervene and not interject and not interrupt and allow for the systematization of dehumanization of millions of people just because of the color of their skin to continue. That is the mindset. Those are the inherited tendencies that the Guardian asks us to remove, because we have them. We have it epigenetically. We have done it for centuries. Even there was enslavement, slavery in Iran, which allowed, that's my country of origin. There was slavery, and as Dr. Bayat has taught me, your father, that it wasn't until 1927 that slavery, finally, they let go of it in Iran. So I believe weeding these habits is absolutely essential because it's inherited, it's inherent, it's inherent. That means it's stuck to us and we have to remove it.
Thank you very much, Hodajan. Thank you. Very well, some good points. Okay, yes, and the term he uses is weed because it is a weed, and weeds are persistent, they're a problem, and they overtake a garden, and it's the garden of our hearts. And so we have to work to get them out. And if we don't, our garden of our hearts gets overtaken by these weeds. So we have to be a constant gardener and keep at it and be persistent at it. And also, as you know, weeds have deep roots. So we can't be just half at, I don't want to use crude language, but not just, per se, half do it, just kind of like pull at it and just, not really do a good job at it. And we really have to, per se, get the shovel in the ground, step on it, and really get the whole thing out. Or else the roots will stay there and come back. And that's why later on you see the terminology of the Guardian when he starts addressing racism. He says, let them make a supreme effort. Supreme effort is the terminology the Guardian uses. So it's a monumental undertaking. So very great points. Thank you very much, Hodajan. Okay, moving on. Everybody wants to change the world. This is, everybody wants to change the world, but nobody wants to start with themselves. I found this humorous because it's so, I'm British, I was born in Scotland, so I'm going to use the word, I have the right. It's so bloody true. So that's true. Everybody wants to change the world, but nobody wants to start with themselves. Okay? So this is our problem. We always want to change others. We always want to change everyone else, but we don't want to change ourselves. And that's why nothing really changes. It continues. The problems continue. And so I saw a hand. I don't want to miss anyone. So if you could make it short, we have lots of more slides. Please, you have the floor.
May I say something?
Tesfaye, you're up. If you could make it short, please. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. But I see on paragraph 13, sorry, so today I become late. Paragraph 13 that says that beautify your tongue. We are always, conversation with the Baha'is and non-Baha'is and everywhere. So how can we beautify our heart if our tongue, if our heart is not good? Is there any insights that you can explain more about this? How is that mean to be beautifying your tongue?
It's a great, great question. How can you beautify your tongue if your heart isn't right?
Yeah,
You know?
there's so many things that, because I see the paragraphs, slide 13, so maybe you can go ahead and read it or something, maybe, I don't know.
I think if we just think about that as we go through the slides, and just think about that, because that per se, Tesfaye, you often hit on the essence of the questions. And so think about Tesfaye's question. How can you beautify your tongues if your heart isn't pure? And we have to have that purity of heart. And we're going to see this through our sections and also in our forthcoming sections, because there's another section on rectitude of conduct in our next week. And then we're going to getting into chaste and holy life, which again is about purification of the self. And then there's another section on chaste and holy life, again, purification of the self. Then we're going to be getting into this transformation of the inner life in the sense of ingrained prejudices. We're going to be getting into that one. So think about that question of Tesfaye. So we're going to be moving on, Tesfaye. We're going to leave that as a rhetorical question, okay?
Okay.
So that the friends can meditate on it. Okay, we have to move on. Excellent.
Thank you.
Ozine John, could you read this one for us?
People think religion is confined in an edifice to be worshipped at an altar. In reality, it is an attitude toward divinity, which is reflected through life. Abdul Baha.
Yes. So often we think we own religion. It is something that we own, but it is not something that we own. It is not something that we worship on an altar. It should be a life, living the life, a transforming experience. This is what it is. So I came across this picture on the left, and this says, this is from Christianity. And obviously anyone that is taking pictures of the slides or anything, I always send you everything. So don't hesitate. So this is a picture of from Christianity. It says, make me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. For all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. Isn't that amazing? This is and then we see the prayer from Baha'u'llah, created me a pure heart. Oh my God. So this is a prayer from Christianity. It says, make me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. And then at the bottom it says, for all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. And we know glory of God is who? Baha'u'llah. So look at that. I find it beautiful and amazing of how this is a prayer from Christianity. That's actually, this is a girl praying to, his Lord Jesus Christ. And then His Holiness Baha'u'llah on the right, created me a pure heart. Oh my God. I find the parallels and the ties amazing. One voice, one author, one divine. And this is just another, one more proof, as they say, one voice. So this is spiritual prerequisites. We're continuing this. So that was just a slide I wanted to share with you on creating this pure heart. Is the same voice, one dispensation after another. So in paragraph 35, the beloved guardian emphasizes the urgency of fostering the spiritual factors governing the inner lives of the Baha'is, and their social relationships with others are no less important than that of developing plans, raising funds, and constructing the temple. So as you remember that all of these qualities, this building these spiritual prerequisites are for what? The success of the teaching plans, which is developing the plans, raising the funds, and constructing the temples. And so this is what per se they're for. In paragraph 36, the beloved guardian describes this spiritual prerequisites as the bedrock on which the security of all these teaching plans, these temple projects, financial schemes must ultimately rest. And this blessing vouchsafed to the community in their endeavors is proportional to the extent that the American believers realize these spiritual prerequisites in their lives. So this is so interesting. So it's proportional to the extent that you have done it. So how much has the American Baha'i community transformed their inner lives? We will, based upon that proportion, we will have success in our teaching plans, our temple projects, and financial schemes. So the more that we transform our inner lives, we will have success in our teaching plans. Comprende? That's, as they say, capiche? So that is pretty important statement right here in paragraph 36. Oh, moving on. Okay, let's have a reader. Kayvon John, you're up.
Spiritual prerequisites. In paragraph 36, the beloved guardian identifies these spiritual prerequisites. A high sense of moral rectitude in their individual lives, administrative activities, and social relationships with others. Absolute chastity in their individual lives, complete freedom from prejudice in dealing with peoples of a different race, class, creed, or color.
And if you could read the ones on the right too. Thank you, Kayvon.
Okay, so rectitude, moral virtue, correctness of principle or conduct. Correct an attitude is equal to rectitude.
There you go. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So having being correct and having the right attitude equals rectitude. So rectitude is moral virtue, correctness of principle and conduct. So moral rectitude. This is what we should uphold in all of our activities, whether it's administrative or social, having this high sense of attitude, correctness of principles, and then having this absolute chastity and holy life. And we're going to getting into that. What does that mean? Is it just to do with aspects of sexual propriety, or is there more to it? And we're going to be getting into all the elements in forthcoming sections. And in parts 14, 15, and 16, we're going to be getting into this freedom from prejudice in dealings with peoples of a different race, class, creed, and color. So this is very exciting. It's the beloved guardian is laying out here the spiritual prerequisites for success of all the teaching plans. Because he wants, remember, this is the first teaching plan, the very first one, 7-year plan. It was the first one. And so he wants everything to go on without a hitch, everything to be successful. So he's now saying in 1938 and December 25th, the letter is being written. He's saying, okay, if you want success in all your teaching plans, you got to be doing these things. But have we been doing all these things since 1938? No, I don't think so. We got to be doing them to a much higher degree, And so for a transformation within our Baha'i community, as well as we'll see that the second part of the double crusade is within our nation. Okay, so moving on. Now, in paragraph 37, let us have a reader. Let us have Pat, you're up. Go for it, Pat.
In paragraph 37, Shoghi Effendi clarifies, that the high sense of moral rectitude is directed specially but not exclusively at the elected representatives, whether local, regional, or national, who are custodians of the faith and lay the foundation for the universal house of justice. The chaste and holy life is mainly directed to the youth, who contribute to the vigor, the purity, and the driving force of the life of the Baha'i, and upon whom rests the future, and upon whom the future of the faith depends. The freedom from prejudices should be the immediate, the universal, and the chief concern of all community members of any age, rank, experience, class, or color.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So when I was putting this presentation together, I had read Advent of Divine Justice before, as most of you have. This paragraph 37 was like, boom, it just hit me. It should hit anyone that reads this paragraph, and it should be just enlightening, because in this paragraph now it's saying, what is our focus for every single Baha'i? And it says here, immediate, universal, and chief concern of all community members of any age, rank, experience, class, or color. So this should be our complete and immediate, universal, and number one focus as the Baha'i community of North America. And this is not just in 1938, this is through the entire formative age. And should be freedom from prejudices, and primarily racial prejudices. This is it. This is the beloved guardian. He is focused. This is what we should be focused on. The aspect of what he's going to be going in paragraphs 34 through 41 is this high sense of moral rectitude of conduct, is especially focused on the elected representatives. Not that that's just the focus, the elected representatives, but it should be on every one of us to create this new race of men. Chaste and holy life, obviously focused on the youth, in the sense of that they're entering into a stage of matrimony eventually, and so they're having a higher sense of rectitude of conduct in having a chaste and holy life in those elements. So, but the freedom of prejudices, the guardian said, every single person, young, old, all of us, this should be our chief focus. So I think that cannot be any more clear by the beloved guardian there in paragraph 37. Moving on, paragraph 38, the beloved guardian further clarifies. He says a rectitude of conduct, an abiding sense of undeviating justice, unobscured by the demoralizing influences which a corruption-ridden political life so strikingly manifests. So now he's saying corruption is the problem, but the rectitude of conduct is the solution. He says a chaste, pure, and holy life, unsullied and unclouded by the indecencies, the vices, the false standards which an inherently deficient moral code tolerates, perpetuates, and fosters. So you see here, he presents the solution, and he's saying the contrast is the problem here. The vices, the indecencies, the inherently deficient moral code that tolerates. And lastly, a fraternity freed from that cancerous growth of racial prejudice. And these are the words of the beloved guardian, cancerous growth. I don't know if any of the friends have encountered cancer within their lives, but God is at things. God, is it scary to even say the word cancer, let alone have it within your life, because that thing just keeps spreading. And that's what this racial prejudice is. It's cancerous growth of racial prejudice, which is eating into the vitals an already debilitated society. So we have to have a fraternity of free from racial prejudice. Fraternity means brotherly love and free from racial prejudice. A chaste and pure and holy life, and a rectitude of conduct. So these are the elements, these are the spiritual prerequisites that we're talking about in paragraph 38. Now we're getting into...
Can I say something here?
Please go ahead. Testify.
Yeah, the way I see on the cancerous growth of racial prejudice means to me, the way I understand it, cancer is most of the time, it starts from one place and it spread all over the places. They grow up without knowing or unknowing. So it goes up like that. It grows and affects the whole thing. So it is very dangerous unless and otherwise if we can cut it off at the early age. So that is what we have now in this age for this racial prejudice and all these things. It starts at one time of the age and now society starts getting it, and then the new generation from generation, it comes now very hard and spread all over the world.
Beautiful point, Tesfaye. Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you.
It usually starts a local area and then it starts to spread unless it's surgically removed. And as you all know, the different treatments of cancer, radiation, and it's a focused energy and it's an incredible blast of radiation, which is intensive. And that's what I see as a supreme effort is radiation. It's a focused effort of all community members to go after the cancerous growth. Very well point, great point, Tesfaye, as always. Thank you. Now we're getting into paragraphs 39 through 41. And in paragraph 39, this is the long paragraph that I read. And this is where he's now focusing on the first spiritual prerequisite, namely rectitude of conduct. Here, Shoghi Effendi initially clarifies that the implications rectitude of conduct in the life of an individual are justice, equity, truthfulness and honesty, fair-mindedness, reliability, and trustworthiness. So these are the 7 qualities that encapsulate this term rectitude of conduct. Okay? And in paragraph 39, the beloved guardian Shoghi Effendi cites 19 statements from His Holiness Baha'u'llah and Abdul Baha, highlighting the significance of these qualities associated with rectitude of conduct. So let us, we have time, so let us go through some of these qualities as we, so Ms. Hodajan, you have the floor. If you could read both panels, please.
From now on, you must strive to beautify the moral aspects of your lives. Abdul Baha. Training in morals and good conduct is far more important than book learning. Abdul Baha.
Yes, thank you so much, Hodajan. So I put that one there on the right just to remind my dear mama that training is in moral conduct is more important than book learning. Was never a great student on any level. So, but here we see that how important it is to strive to beautify the moral aspects of our lives. And His Holiness Abdul Baha is re-emphasizing this here. It says, a soul grows by the exercise of human virtues and the observance of human morals. So this is how a soul grows. Exercise. And we all know exercise takes daily vigilance, right? You can't just say, oh, I exercised last Tuesday, and that's it. It was a good exercise, but we have to keep at it, right? So a soul grows by the exercise of human virtues and the observance of human morals. So we have to keep at it. And we're going to see quotes in reference to that we have to be persistent. So I have a little short video. I'll show you. So there was a short video, just wanted to, where it's talking about our call to examine the implications of the revelation of Baha'u'llah for economic life is intended to reach Baha'i institutions and communities, but is directed more especially to the individual believer. And it says, if a new model of community life patterned on the teachings is to emerge, must not the company of the faithful demonstrate in their own lives the rectitude of conduct that is one of its most distinguishing features?
Yes, son.
Yes, please, Miss Karen, go for it.
I wanted to share with you something from this book called Beauty by John O'Donohue, an Irish man. And it just seems, hearing it said, to beautify our souls. I've always wanted to know more about the word beauty and about beautifying. And there's this one paragraph here. I just read it very quickly. The human soul is hungry for beauty. We seek it everywhere, in the landscape, in music, art, clothes, furniture, gardening, companionship, love, religion, and in ourselves. No one would desire not to be beautiful. When we experience the beautiful, there is a sense of homecoming. Some of our most wonderful memories are of beautiful places where we felt immediately at home. We feel most alive in the presence of the beautiful, for it meets the needs of our souls. For while the strains of struggle and endurance are relieved, and our frailty is illuminated by a different light, in which we come to glimpse behind the shutter of appearances the sure form of things. In the experience of beauty, we awaken and surrender in the same act. Beauty brings a sense of completion and sureness. And so it just, when I heard the statement about beautifying our souls, this is what it brought to mind immediately, and I just wanted to share it with you.
It's beautiful. That was, I said the word beautiful, to respond to it, because lack of vocabulary of myself, but truly the beauty is, as you know, is a name of our Lord. It's Jamal. It really is, when we see beauty, we are seeing our Lord. And it is, as you said, we're looking everywhere for beauty, and we should look for the beauty within us, within ourselves. Exactly.
Yes. That's a major premise of the book.
Very, very, very great point. Thank you very much, Ms. Karen.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. So this is a picture. It says, the light of a good character surpasseth the light of the sun. And this is a quote. And this is one of the 19 quotes that the beloved guardian picked. And so the light of a good character surpasseth the light of the sun. So let us get into another one we have 9 minutes left. So let us get into another one of these qualities, equity. So let us have a reader. And our reader that's going to be up is Miss Kathy. You're up. Go for it, Miss Kathy.
Equity has a broad meaning and refers to a range of values such as fairness, justice, and impartiality, particularly in the way people are treated. His Holiness Baha'u'llah identifies justice and equity as: justice and equity are twin guardians that watch over men. From them are revealed such blessed and perspicuous words as are the cause of the well-being of the world and the protection of the nations. In another tablet, he refers to equity as the most fundamental among human virtues. The evaluation of all things must needs depend upon it. In the same tablet, he warns people, observe equity in your judgment, ye men of understanding heart. He that is unjust in his judgment is destitute of the characteristics that distinguish man's station. Equity means promoting fairness within policies, procedures, programs, and the distribution of resources by accounting for the different histories, challenges, and needs of our population.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Miss Kathy. So this is one of the qualities of rectitude of conduct, equity. And as mentioned earlier by one of our dear friends, often we don't think about the definitions and also in the light of how the faith defines equity. And is, in this sense, equity is one of the most fundamental among human virtues. It's the evaluation of all things must depend upon it. How many times we hear justice is the best beloved of all things in my sight? Equity. So this is equity. Now we're moved to truthfulness, and we will all hear about truthfulness. It's the foundation of all human virtues. So let us hear from truthfulness. And let us go to David, sitting right there, because he's right on my screen. So David, you're up.
Truthfulness is a virtue that ensures our thoughts, words, and actions reflect the truth. When we are truthful, we do our utmost to find truth in every matter and distinguish truth from fantasy. One does not believe, misrepresent, or promote something as the truth when one knows it is not true. One does not tell lies even to protect others. One does not exaggerate about who and what we are to impress others. Baha'u'llah identifies truthfulness as one of the fruits of the tree of life. Baha'u'llah counsels people to adorn and beautify their tongues with absolute truthfulness. His Holiness Abdu'l-Baha recognizes truthfulness as the foundation of all virtues of the world of humanity. Abdu'l-Baha stresses that without truthfulness, progress and success in all the worlds of God are impossible for any soul. When His Holiness, when this holy attribute is established in man, all the divine qualities will also become realized. Truthfulness. Follow the path of truthfulness. Truthfulness is the foundation of all virtues.
Excellent. Very well read. Thank you, David. Thank you. So you see, equity. How important is equity? Now we see truthfulness, foundation of all human virtues. So important. And what a standard we have to live with this quality. We have to set it before our eyes. And we're counseled to adorn and beautify our tongues with absolute truthfulness. So our tongues should be always truthful. Oh, David, you have a hand, please.
Think about a statement in the writing somewhere where it says a truth not timed properly is worthless. So I was trying to think about the capacity of myself in this aspect, but thank you, that was all.
Truth not timed. One more time, sorry, I didn't catch exactly what you said. Just one more time, David, please.
A truth not timed properly is worthless. I just kind of shortened it up from the writings, but you know.
Sure. Thank you so much, David. Thank you. And here's a few more quotes. One is on the left, it says Baha'i writings, and the one on the right is from Rih Khanum. So I'll read these for you. It says, without truthfulness, progress and success in all of the worlds of God are impossible for a soul. And we read that one earlier. So, and the one, this is from Rih Khanum. This is from Prescription for Living. She says truthfulness is the rock on which character must be built. Then no amount of storm can cast the structure down. This vast, busy universe, pulsating, expanding, evolving, is real. All its values are genuine. There is no place for anything false. How can a man's life be sound and healthy if it is filled with gaps? For a lie is a gap. It is the absence of the real thing, the fact, the truth. Truthfulness must be added. Honesty, another essential ingredient of a healthy character. The two do not necessarily go together. There are honest liars in this world, as well as truthful thieves. I found that humorous too. So there's honest liars, and there are truthful thieves. So, but we should be truthful and honest. And we're going to be exploring truthfulness and honesty individually. So, 1 quick 2-second video on
truthfulness is brighter than the light of the sun. Truthfulness is brighter than the light of the sun. With truthfulness, O people, beautify your tongues. With truthfulness, O people, beautify your tongues. Honesty adores the soul of everyone. Honesty adores the soul of everyone. Honesty is brighter than the light of the sun. Honesty is brighter than the light of the sun.
so short video restating the quotes that we just read. So now we move to honesty, and I'm just going to be honestly checking the time. And we have 1 minute. So let us just finish this one page on honesty, and then we will close for tonight. Okay, and let us have a reader. And our reader will be scrolling through. Dr. Bayat, haven't heard from you tonight on honesty. So go for it. You're up.
Sure, with pleasure. Allah Akbar, everyone. Honesty is a quality that governs the attitudes, words, and deeds of individual and ensures that they are truthful and sincere, morally correct, or virtuous and free from deceit. His Holiness Baha'u'llah distinguishes between honesty and truthfulness. He states, beautify your tongues, O people, with truthfulness, and adorn your souls with the ornament of honesty. Truthfulness governs what we verbally express. Honesty is the quality of our souls and controls our attitude and deeds. His Holiness Baha'u'llah identifies honesty and piety as the cause of happiness and exaltation. He states, O friends of God in his cities and his loved ones in his lands, this wronged one enjoineth on you honesty and piety. Blessed the city that shineth by their light. Through them man is exalted, and the door of security is unlocked before the face of all creation. Happy the man that cleaveth fast unto them, and recognizeth their virtue, and woe betide him that denieth their station.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Dr. Bhatt. Okay, so dear friends, we're coming to our close for this evening. I'm going to stop the share, and we'll pick up next week on our sections. I apologize, I may have missed anyone's hands. We'll leave any questions for this. If anyone has any questions or comments, you have the floor, and then we'll have our closing prayer. Does anyone have any questions at this time?
Ehsan,
please, Dr. Bhatt.
As you noticed in this session, there was so much emphasis on certain qualities, attitudes, honesty, truthfulness, and so on. There is not enough time for me to highlight why in this dispensation, Baha'u'llah had to put so much emphasis on these qualities. Perhaps at the start of the next session, it will take about 2 or 3 minutes for me to explain that. Thank you.
I look forward to it, Dr. Bhatt. I look forward to it. So yes, that would be a great insight. We'll save that for our next session. Anyone else, dear friends? If not, let us have a closing prayer. And I really enjoyed, as always, seeing your faces tonight. And next week, we'll continue picking up, closing off part 10 on rectitude of conduct. So without any further ado, let us have a closing prayer, and then you can go continue resuming your lives and enjoying your time with your loved ones. And thank you so much to everyone. And our closing prayer will be from whoever wants to quickly unmute themselves and go ahead. So first come, first serve. Go ahead.
O God, my God, attire mine head with the crown of justice, and my temple with the ornament of equity. Thou verily art the possessor of all gifts and bounties. Baha'u'llah.
Beautiful as always. Thank you so much, dear friends. And
Yes,
I look. Yes, Manichan, please.
Just thanking you, Ehsan.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And I'm so happy and grateful to be back with you all. Sorry I missed last week. I don't plan on these things. Life, sends us tests and things. And well, actually in part 11, we're going to really explore tests. Part 11? Part 16, sorry, part 16. So in part 16, if you've ever had a test or a trial or tribulation in your life, don't miss part 16. You'll really learn what all the ramifications of what tests and tribulations are about. So I really am happy to see all of you. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening, and look forward to seeing you all next week. I will send you the recording and anything else tomorrow. Have a wonderful night. Take care.
I'm glad you're back with full power.
Yes.
Good night,
Yes.
Ehsan.
Good night. Good
We're
night.
happy that you're
Good night,
feeling well.
everybody.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye.
Alama Pa.
Now,
And now,